Well, good evening, everybody, and welcome to the town hall for everybody watching here tonight on Zoom. And for those of you out there watching on Facebook, I've noticed a lot more people do watch it on social media these days than watch it on the town hall, and God bless you. So I know we should be more careful about what we're saying, but we're not going to be. We're going to try to be a little bit careful and be a little politically correct, but let's hit some things between the eyes right now. Gavin, and as you notice, I put my title, I got to do it, Oren. Whether you like it or not, this recall election is going to take place, and there's lots of reasons for it. Um, it's interesting. As you folks know, I'm a realtor and I'm almost ashamed to be one by seeing that the California Association of Realtors has donated 1.5 million to the Gavin Newsom cause against recalling, but I'm going to tell you why. Just like Netflix, just like the big unions, we've become a state of large dollars and large infrastructure. And that's hurting the average person like us who've done the recall in California. And as Orrin always says, and I'll flip it to him in a minute, it really is about us, the people. And let's be aware of a couple things. We cannot depend on big parties, big business, big whatever to bail us out. Looks like it's up to us, Californians, to do this. Orrin, before I flip to you a little bit, I have something interesting that struck me as, I'm not going to say bizarre, but I want to throw some big numbers out there for you. The first big number is, if you didn't know or didn't hear in our radio show, Friday Nights at the French Laundry, the state of California owes 48 billion, you heard correctly, to the EDD fund, a lot of it, about 20 billion, give or take, to the federal government. So as we saw in the videos earlier, it's exciting that Gavin is throwing around recall rebates, but the reality is he's doing this to stay in power. Big companies, Netflix, big dollars, big things are suppressing the people of California. And by the way, how bad has California become? Did you notice the poverty rate that they showed? For those of you getting a $600 rebate, many of us here, that's because the poverty rate in California is literally $75,000 a year and below. That's how much it almost takes to survive in this state if you want to buy a home, which some realtors appreciate because they're making big commissions. The reality is most realtors, and I'm speaking for myself, a lot of my friends, we're conservatives and tired of this happening. Here's some other interesting figures for you. Gavin Newsom says he's opening the state on June 15th, right, Oren?
Yes, he
However,
does.
he's not real clear about what that means. And even the LA Times said the public can handle the full truth and unfiltered truth. Because to let you know, in just the last year, in addition to no bid contracts, behested payments, he's issued 58 executive orders suspending our rights and the suspension of alteration over 400 some other laws. So for those out there in the legislature and us voting, kind of what's the point unless we get rid of Gavin? 58 executive orders and suspension of over 400 laws while he continues to collect taxes, building up recall rebates. Orrin, I'm going to flip to you.
That's exactly why the judge censored him and found in favor of Kevin Kiley and James Gallagher for his executive overreach and imposing his orders and his executive authority over us and our First Amendment rights. There are plenty of reasons to recall this governor. I can make the case to recall him without even mentioning the French Laundry or COVID or vaccines or this or that. He's releasing prisoners on a whole scale basis, exacerbating our already overpopulated homeless humanitarian crisis. We have a disaster in the making here in California, and that name is Gavin Newsom. So we've got to recall him. And I'm so proud to have the guests on our show tonight, Tim Holiday. Tim, if you can show yourself on screen, you're one of our main guests. God bless you, and thank you so much for everything you do. Tim is generally the man behind the scenes, the behind the curtain, and does a lot of the operations for us from day one. He's been with us. He is the original wheelchair warrior, Tim Holiday. God bless you and thank you for joining us. And we also have Sarah Garcia, and Sarah has been one of our leading regional managers down in Southern California. And, I'm going to go into a couple of stories that I have to share with Sarah, but we're going to let them share their story first. And God bless you guys. And thank you so much for joining
Well,
us.
I want to jump in really quick here, Oren. First of all,
Absolutely.
I want to say, happy anniversary to our recall petition that was released on the 10th of June of 2020. And, we've come a long way since then. And you know what? Thank you, everyone who was involved. A round of applause to everyone. Thank you, everyone.
Absolutely. And I'll tell you what, May 1st was the anniversary of a rally that I had done out at the state capitol, where the peaceful protest, I wouldn't even call them protesters. We were just attending a peaceful rally at the state capitol. We weren't even really protesting anything. The state police came out and started pushing everybody off the Capitol grounds. We had thousands of people on the Capitol grounds, and there were literally 32 people put in handcuffs and hauled away that day. And then shortly after that, there were Antifa riots, BLM riots, and damage done, vandalism, nothing connected to our rally. This was days later. No arrests were made. And I think today, until today, there has been no arrests made. But during our rally at the Capitol, they arrested 32 people for violation of their health code rules or the governor's health violations, whatever the hell it was. It doesn't matter. It was unlawful. It was unjust. And it was unfair, and it was against our First Amendment rights, and it was against the people's right to assemble peaceably and to protest or to petition their government with their grievances.
Absolutely. And before we jump to our two volunteers tonight, I want to say everybody out there listening to this, in the year-long journey we've had since the petition came out, this has been a petition of action. Let's be really clear. Our state government is a government of inaction unless it makes them politically popular. That's all they care about. Everybody out there, and just as an FYI here, Ord and I have to break away at about 7:20 tonight, a little bit earlier than usual, because as people of action, we've got another Zoom meeting to attend to, and I'll leave that nameless. But we want you to get out of this meeting tonight what these two esteemed people who are on the show have done in terms of action. And we want you to understand that now that we've woken up the Newsom side, they're trying to take action to get this on the ballot earlier. As you know, yesterday was the last day for signature rescission. They're not going to get enough. As you know, by I believe it's June 22nd, they're going to have collected all the data, and then the machine's going to begin trying to decide when it's best for them to have the election, not best for the people of California. What we can control is this. They're going to have more money, but they don't have our guts, and they won't have the action that we're going to take. And after these two, before I have to jump off the air, we want to stress again the action that we want you to take today.
Mike, Sarah, Tim, and everybody listening, this is a true story of David and Goliath. Okay. We may be outgunned, we may be outnumbered, we may be outfunded, but there is nothing that can stop the spirit of the people of the United States. And we are returning to the foundation this country was built upon. And God bless America, and thank the Lord that we have the ability to fight back against this sort of tyranny, against this sort of government, because we are, when it comes down to it, all Americans. And this movement is, as I've always said, it's a movement of the people, by the people, for the people, of all political, from all walks of life, from the entire political spectrum, from all cultures, all races, all ethnicities. We've all come together to unify towards one objective, and that's to return the government to a state where it's accountable and representative of the people they serve.
Absolutely. Orrin, I think we might want to flip to Sarah first, since you may have to leave Tim holding down the fort tonight.
Absolutely.
Sarah, you're absolutely amazing, and I'm going to say this. I have 2 kids and they're grown and barely find time to do this. How you possibly do this is, and what you've done is absolutely incredible. Uh-oh, we've lost Sarah's camera. Sarah?
Ruh-roh. We'll jump to Tim. Tim, runner up. How you doing? Oh, well, okay then.
Hey, we're getting in the use of that habit here. How about that?
There you go.
All right. So my name's Tim Holliday. I'm actually signed on as a proponent for the recall. A little story that Orrin caught wind of. I joined in with the recall during the Aaron Cruz campaign. And so I was, looking around, seeing all these posts on the social media groups about the recall of Gavin, and I wanted to get in, actually sign the petition during that time in 2019, because for me there was enough reason to, get on board. And so I ended up just pushing my wheelchair. I was going to go to a permanent signing location, but something said, no, I want to see somebody. I want to talk with somebody, get their political perspectives, and go from there. Well, I ended up pushing my wheelchair to one side of town, manual wheelchair for that matter, and they weren't there. So I went to a nearby store, shopped for a minute, and then looked on the Facebook groups, and they moved locations. So I went all the way across to another side of
What
town.
it means by a manual wheelchair means that it is not mechanized. This is arm driven. This is something that he has to drive and push forward under his own power.
So I ended up going to the next location, and they weren't there. So I look again, and there's a third location. So it's a little further, and they weren't there. So I went ahead and I reached out to the lead person, Christine is her name, and met up with her at a nearby retail store where she was shopping. And
well, there was some communication in between there.
Well, just a little bit of chat, not a whole lot though, but ended up meeting with her and talking with her in person, and from signed the petition. And I'd like to state that even on that petition, the initial cost for a recall was $81 million. But anyways, moving forward, so she did offer me a ride home. I politely declined because I had a little bit more shopping to do. And so I went ahead and did a little more shopping. And on my way home, I got a flat tire on my wheelchair, because these are air tires like a bike. And I'm like, all right, well, just carry it on my way. And what I used to do is do a screenshot and keep track on the Google Maps. So I took a screenshot, I sent it over to Christine, and somehow or another, Orrin caught wind of this. And Orrin was really impressed and had contacted me probably a couple of days later. And from there on out, we stayed in communications. And it was February of 2020 when I came on board with the Recall Gavin 2020 movement.
And since then, Tim has grown into what we call special ops. So I want to stress again that as we've grown in our movement in this fight, Tim has taken over the social media portion of it. When you watch our show Friday nights at the French Laundry, and now you're able to see it on Facebook, it's Tim running the boards. All those neat, cool graphics that you see every week, which we're going to start emailing out again, and we still put them on email and social media. Tim's the one that does it. So again, an example, like when we get to Sarah, of people stepping up and doing things, taking action, which is what everyone out there needs to do. And it's a little, I always think that I'm going to say our side, but the side driving the recall, we're, how do I put this gently for those watching out there? I don't know that if I should. We're always more about not taking handouts from the government, but handing it to the government, if you will, because we're doing things. And Tim, you're a shining example of someone that every week continuously does things. And I want to give you a whoo right now. Thank you, brother.
Well, thank you as well. And a little bit of background about my disability. I have a 14 millimeter tumor in my spine. I have 2 ruptured discs in my neck and 3 ruptured discs in my lumbar. So, I'm doing the best that I can with whatever abilities I have to make sure that this happens, because this is not right what the government, Gavin Newsom has been doing to our state. And we need to see something done. And, I'm going to do
So
what
folks,
I can to make sure to see it happen.
Here's a guy who's mobility impaired. He's legally blind, and he wheeled his chair over 11 miles in 3 different stops. As frustrating as it may have been, just to sign the original recall, the first recall against this governor. And then he suffered a flat tire on his way back home. And, Tim is an amazing person, and he's driven, and, he's got a lot of heart, and God bless you, Tim. So, what this governor is doing is affecting everybody on a broad scale. And he's doing things that affect people with mobility impairments and folks across the entire spectrum. We have, folks that are in adult care homes that have been affected. We have folks, the children, parents with kids in school, they've been affected. And there is a lot of reasons that people are coming out to want to see this recall succeed. It has nothing to do with COVID, and we need to push this forward as fast and far as we can. Am I right, Tim?
Oh, exactly right. I mean, AB5 is one of the examples. And
How is that?
How is that? So it's actually affecting not just the Ubers and all those, it's affecting the truck drivers, which will ultimately raise the price on all goods and services because things are shipped around via truck. And if we don't have those truckers, we're in a world of trouble. And I have a lot of friends that are truckers, and some of them have moved out of state. And I don't want to see my friends leave anymore. I want to, we need to maintain our friends as well as our family, and stay here in California, stay close to your family, stay close to your friends.
Very good. Thank you, Tim.
And one of the things that we talked about, Warren, is some of these taxes supposed to be going toward the roads as well as the sidewalks, and the sidewalks are terrible. The roads, yeah, they're bad. The sidewalks are worse, especially in a wheelchair. They jar and jostle a person's body. And if a person is not using those muscles, they become weak and they end up tearing faster and more so because of the lack of mobility issues, especially those that are fully paralyzed, quadriplegic. It's a world of trouble for someone who's not able to feel.
Tim, you bring up an excellent point that I guess some of us who are, different, if you will, than you, a really excellent point that the state who's supposed to provide infrastructure, as we talked about on our Friday Nights of the French Laundry last week, as they want this high density housing because they don't really care. They're not making the cities, the counties, giving them the money from the road tax to repair things like infrastructure, like the sidewalks, which are going to continue to deteriorate if we go to high density housing, which is what they're trying to push. Which also, if you don't mind, or in other words, who's going to maintain those sidewalks, etc. And that's a really good point, because a lot of neighborhoods I go to, you're stepping around stuff. Kind of want to use this as a bit of a transition as Sarah, because Sarah, I know, and Tim, we'll get back to you in a second, one of your passions is schooling. And it always strikes me as very interesting that, they want to jam all these peoples in various neighborhoods, but we can't even handle the education. We can't, the schooling infrastructure we have right now, as you heard in the video, we have the most money of any state, the most population, and we rank 37th. And I think that's kind of generous. And who the hell now they're telling us how to educate our kids in school when they can't even train them in basic math and English? And Sarah, you've been a star. I mean, you've been an amazing person, not only in Riverside, in influencing the recall throughout the state. And just as we hand it off to Tim, I want to hand off to you and say thank you so much for all you've done. And I'd be honest with you, I know how the hell you even managed to do it all. So tell us a little bit about your recall experience. Why we have you on camera? Because we keep losing you.
I know I had to move from the garage to inside. So hopefully the kids will be quiet. Yeah, I mean, with the school thing, we have no bragging rights, right? In California, we have nothing to brag about. And even if I wanted to put my kids in school, I can't because of the mandatories that Newsom keeps passing all of these laws. And I would encourage people to start looking at reading through those laws and say, is this giving our country more freedom or less freedom? And that's what he's been taking away rights, decisions that parents are supposed to be making, So that's kind of what got me, I wasn't into politics at all until 2017. I don't even know how somebody I met here in my area encouraged me to start looking at our assembly member, going to meet with her, ask her some hard questions about what she was going to the Capitol to vote yes and no on. And one of them was the gas tax at the time. And the other one was passing mandatory vaccinations for all kids. So my kids can't even go to school if I wanted to put them in. Although now that I've been doing it, I've been realizing I think I can do it better. I'm doing a better job than our public school is doing, some of them, unfortunately. And I realized that some of the issues are because I wasn't taught this stuff. Our kids, people my age were not taught anything about government, or that government is the people and it should be from the people to leaders. Right now, it's the leaders to the people, telling the people what to do. So I've been talking to my kids' friends, the school that I've been teaching at, kind of going through the Pledge of Allegiance and talking to them about what each of those lines stand for. And I think that is the most important one, is to the Republic. Who's the Republic? Newsom thinks he is solely by himself, and he's not. So yeah, I mean, I knew I wanted to sign the recall. That was back with Aaron Cruz, just like Tim. That's how I got started. And I was trying to find something in our area and there was nowhere to sign. And I messaged somebody on Facebook and she said, oh, I'll teach you how to do it. How about this Sunday? And I was like, okay. So we set up, got 400 signatures. And then that is kind of how it led me into the next one a little bit. I knew how much work it was because I'd already been doing it. And by the way, I'm still a sub, you guys asked me to sub this position as regional manager. So you haven't replaced me yet. I'm still waiting for my replacement. But no, we have a great team in Riverside County. Every single person has been a joy to work with. Everybody has their own special gifts and talents, and there's a place for everybody. So I don't like this thing, oh, I'm not into politics. I wasn't before. And now I realize everybody should be into politics. You should know who your assembly member is and who they are, what they are passing, what are they saying yes and no to, what our senators are abstaining from just because they're weak and they're afraid that somebody's gonna say something, oh, well, I didn't say yes and I didn't say no, so you can't say anything. This is craziness. It's really craziness. So I really hope for California that we could start educating our young children and teenagers, young people, and just hoping that they get involved and, just getting there and educating them and showing them how it should be, to change things around. So here I am, and I just a shout out to Roxana, I call her my better half in the recall. I couldn't have done it without her either. And every single person, it takes so many people to do this. So I've enjoyed working with all of you guys too. So
Absolutely. Up and down the state, we have, teams in every county, every community, and every town and city, and it's just incredible. You're right. It takes so many people to come together and push this thing forward. But I have special stories with Sarah, and I would drive up and down the state with my dog and deliver the signatures to the individual counties where they need to go. And I'd call Sarah, hey, Sarah, I'm coming over to the Grapevine, and I'm coming down south, and I need to meet somebody. I need to deliver to Riverside, San Bernardino, LA, Orange County, wherever. And I'm heading to San Diego so I can get the signatures down to our representatives in the Southern County. And Sarah would always say, okay, I'll be there. And boom, in her car on the way from pizza parties, birthday parties, whatever, she would stop what she was doing, jump in her car with her kids, 9:30, 10 o'clock at night, and meet me across town and take what I had to pass off to her and go and make sure that those deliveries were made quickly, and the signatures were turned in on time, where they need to be, when they need to be there. And she's such an organizer. And what I found out just recently is that I'm not the only one who knows this about Sarah. There's other people. She's more involved in her community than a lot of other people are. And this is what we need to do, folks, is we need to, as citizens, take our communities back, return to the roots of the foundation of our country. This is us. This is our country. This isn't the government dictating to us how we live and what we do with it. This is us telling them what we want. They represent us, not the other way around. So that's a really important distinction. And I just want to say, Sarah, God bless. I mean, there's very few people that are more dedicated to you than driving the country, the state, the country in the right direction, steering this thing around. You are part of what I consider to be the steering committee of California.
Thank you.
I want to add something about you, Sarah, since it was in the paper, quoted in the papers. So Sarah also, boy, Sarah, I tell you what, I'd hate to be in a back alley against you because she's a real fighter.
Mama bear.
And I'm going to give you one
right.
good example. So Orrin and I'm going to go ahead and call out Carl DeMaio because this was in the papers.
Carl who?
Yeah, asked by a reporter, interviewing, and here's the story. So I had gotten a call from Carl about a week and a half before saying, hey, you've got these volunteers after me on the page. Could you ask Sarah, back off this Facebook page on me because he's hurting my feelings? I go, hey, you're kind of scamming money, dude, but I did so many words. So the reporter calls us from a particular paper, I believe the Voice of San Diego, because they're doing, shall we say, investigative journalism on Carl raising money on the backs of the recall. And he said, do you have a volunteer that will be willing to speak up? And I go, well, Sarah spoke up on a Facebook page. Let's try to get her on the phone. And we got Sarah on the phone. And I got to tell you, Sarah, your quote did make the Voice of San Diego and Sign On San Diego. And I want to thank you on this town hall for not only standing up for your family and what you talked about very eloquently, but standing up for not only the recall, but all the people in the recall who siphon off contributions from our cause.
Yeah, he's not only ripping you guys off us, but we the people, all of whoever's giving money, not being honest. What is he going to run for? We want him to run for a position after he's lying about something this, most people would say, oh, it's small, it's not a big deal. But if he's willing to do that and be public about it and have no shame, he shouldn't be anywhere in position of making any decisions at all. Yeah, you're going to set me off here. Thanks.
Well, before I do, because we're running a little bit out of time here, because again, we have an abbreviated show tonight because Orrin and I got somewhere to be. Look, as you can tell from Sarah and Tim here, and we've only got about 5 minutes on before we have to have a hard stop here. It's about taking action, and we know the election's moving up. Here, we have limited funds, but here's what we need. Again, announcing publicly, if you want walking lists or lists of people you can go to, Democrat, Republican, Independent, we will run them and send them over to you. Send us the request for zip codes, all right?
Where do
Send
they
us,
send them?
they're gonna send them to info. They could send them to Orna, myself. They could send them to Robin. Get us the list of whatever zip code you want, and we will send you the voters, Democrat, Independent, Republican, anything you want, and the data on them in an Excel spreadsheet to you. You could send them to info. Most of you have my number, Oren's number, our email. I don't care if it's by Pony Express, get us the info. Now, what I want to do next is share this with you because we put this up this week, all right? Hold, please. All right, because now we have limited funds. We printed something like 20 or 30,000 of the trifold, and we have more trifolds coming. We have more merchandise coming. But to be really blunt, as I demonstrated today with Stella, Oren hands me off merchandise. I got to drive it down to Orange County, right? We kind of suck at distribution, but what we can tell you is this. If you go to our right now, to the recall site, you got to get people in the habit of going back to the brand recallgavin2020.com. When you right now, if you can see my screen, you can download the recall brochure, and just like people printed out the petition, they can print out the recall trifold itself. I'm trying to do things at once, neither one of them well. Okay, so you can see that you can download the PDF right to your computer of the trifold and print it out. Or you can send it to people.
So why do we want people to print out the trifold, Mike?
They want to print it out to be able to hand out to the people not going to our site. It's got the
in their circle. So folks, what we want you to do is we want you to go to recallgavin2020.com. There is a link there to download a PDF of an informational flyer. And that informational flyer is something that we need distributed throughout the state because, like Mike says, we have limited resources. We don't have the $10 million that Gavin Newsom has. We don't have the 2 million ground pounding union workers that the SEIU is turning against this recall. So we need the grassroots volunteers to distribute the stuff in and around their community. Recallgavin2020.com, download the PDF, download the informational flyer, and walk your community. If you need to know the addresses of Republican households in your area, we can get that to you through your county regional manager, your county chair or your regional manager. We can't just distribute it out willy-nilly to the public. This is something that's a controlled document, and it goes through our management team, and people are vetted before it's handed out. But we do need this. You don't have to have addresses or anything like that to hand this stuff out to your friends and your family and your coworkers and people that you meet in the community at storefronts and things like that.
And I want to state this before we have to roll off the air. And Tim, you can stay on if you like, maybe answer more questions, but understand this. The fire of the people, which got us the 2.1 million signatures, is needed for this phase 2. The biggest worry I have, what keeps me up at night, is that people aren't going to vote. And I really want you to get your arms around that. There's a particular group out there, and I'll leave it nameless, that says, oh, we got all the Republicans, we don't have to talk to them. Let me tell you something, as you've heard me say quite often. It took us 8 months to get 2.1 million signatures, 35% of them Democrats. There's 5 million Republicans in the state. Are you waving your finger?
I am. David asks, is this flyer something that we can hand out to the public?
Yes, absolutely. You can hand it out to anybody that you want. The key is simply our reasons for recalling Gavin has the QR code on it. I was going to say it's under, right, we probably need to move that a little bit, Oren. It's under DIY graphics, right? You have to go to take action, go to DIY graphics, and then you'll
No,
find
that's
it
gonna,
down
the PDF is gonna be front and center by this time tomorrow on the, it's gonna be,
Got it.
it's
Just to
gonna
let
have
you
its
know.
own link, just like
Right.
the petition did itself.
Yes, you can hand it out to the public. The key is we have to get the word out. They're going to outspend us. We're going to outwit them. We're raising money for more emails, which is why we asked for donations, the radio show. Really, when you get the word out and tell people that they have to vote, and I want to ask this question, I'm going to ask it again on Friday nights at the French Laundry.
What is that?
Here it comes. The question is simply
Sarah,
this.
maybe Sarah would know what that is. Sarah, what is the Friday nights at the French Laundry?
Oh, too much fun. Don't want to go there.
So our radio show, I'm going to ask this question before we run out of time, Oren, for a quick break here is this. Ask an individual when you see them and call us in Friday night and tell us, how has Gavin Newsom personally affected your life? And I want to ask anybody out there, besides the occasional check or the witty banter he might give on TV in an empty Dodger Stadium from time to time, since Gavin Newsom has been governor, has your life in California gotten better? And I don't think anybody I've ever met can really say yes. And so I ask you the question before Oren and I leave tonight. How has Gavin Newsom made the life of you or someone you know worse in the last 12 months? And those reasons alone, if you think about what he's done in the last 12 months, can you only imagine what he's going to do in the next 12 months? Really think about that. God bless him.
I can say right now before we end that Gavin Newsom has made a lot of people's lives better, Mike. He really has. There's about 100,000 people that are thanking him for being released early.
Well, that's true. With the prisoner,
come on now.
For safer prisons, absolutely. But reality is this, okay? We have to get Gavin out of office.
There's 700 people that were on death row that are thanking Gavin Newsom because their lives are better now.
Absolutely. God bless you guys. Oren, did you want to end the show here because we're literally going to run out of time here?
Tim, what I'd like for you to do is explain to people, a couple of different things. How can they come to the French Laundry? Give the website out again. Give the information out about the French Laundry and what we do behind the scenes and so forth. And then we're going to turn the show over to you, my friend. God bless. Sarah, thank you so much for everything you've done and your team out there. Debbie Lalo, you're listening out there. I know you can hear us. And God bless the
Beth, Stella, everybody.
And the LA team. Love you all and God bless.
Well, these guys wanted me to sing a song, but instead I'll do this. So tune in on Friday nights from 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. on kabc.com. And we are now featured on Zoom. So keep an eye out on our Recall Gavin 2020 Facebook group so you could view it live on Zoom in between 7 p.m. and 9 p.m. And you can also call in during those times on Friday at phone number 1-800-222-5222. So I will end the show like this, and I'll take it from Mike. If you like it or not, we're going to make this happen. RecallGavin2020.com. Don't forget to donate. Have a good night, everyone.